Forget everything Hollywood showed about stagecoaches. Those scenes with heroes saving young women and beautiful landscapes? Pure fantasy. Reality was a whole different story. Passengers packed in for days, roads that rattled your bones, frequent robberies, and deadly accidents. Diaries from that time reveal details the movies never dared to tell. Discover 20 facts that will change how you see the Old West. Subscribe to our channel and give our video some hype to help us out. Number 1. Imagine being stuck in a space the size of a pickup truck with 8 strangers for days on end. That's how it worked. Old West stagecoaches were designed for 6 people, but the companies wanted maximum profit. The result, 9 passengers crammed in, knee to knee, with no way to stretch your legs. And the worst part came when nature called. There were no scheduled bathroom stops. Men had to hold it or use a bucket right there, in front of everyone, including women and children. The smell after 2 or 3 days of traveling through the desert was something nobody forgot. Civil War veterans said they'd already smelled some terrible stuff, but that stagecoach stink was a tough match. Number 2. Traveling by stagecoach in the Old West wasn't just uncomfortable. It could wreck your health. The dirt roads kicked up thick clouds of dust that got in through every crack in the cabin. Passengers said that after a few hours, they could barely see each other. The heavy dust built up in their eyes, their throats, and especially their lungs. Doctors at the time documented cases of chronic coughing that lasted for months after a single long trip. Some travelers developed permanent breathing problems. In 1850s California, during the Gold Rush, thousands of people faced these conditions to cross the country. Wet bandanas tied over the face were the only protection available, but they only worked for a short time before they were covered in dirt. The funny thing is, a lot of people saw this as a minor problem compared to the other dangers of the journey. Number 3. Why robbing stagecoaches was the best business in the Old West. Think about it. A stagecoach hauling Wells Fargo gold, an unarmed driver, deserted roads with no witnesses. Black Bart figured that out perfectly and robbed 28 stagecoaches all by himself, never firing a single shot. The guy treated robbery like an investment. Minimal risk, guaranteed profit. And it wasn't just him. In the 1870s, outlaws realized stagecoaches were perfect targets. No escort, no fast communication, and the chance of getting caught was almost zero. Insurance companies started losing so much money they had to respond. The solution? Put an armed man with a shotgun sitting next to the driver. That's how the shotgun rider was born, a role that still exists today in armored trucks. A curious detail, the phrase riding shotgun that Americans use when they sit in the front seat came straight from that era. Number 4. Traveling in the Old West was like playing Russian roulette with your luck. Stagecoaches raced along trails full of rocks and deep holes. When a wheel broke, and that happened more than you'd think, the result was brutal. Passengers got thrown out like rag dolls, smashing into rocks or getting trampled by panicked horses. In 1860s Wyoming, frontier doctors reported crushed bones, fractured skulls, and deaths on the spot. And the worst part? There were no seatbelts, nothing to hold you in. People just prayed they'd make it out alive. And the drivers, the stagecoach drivers, had one of the most dangerous jobs of the time. A lot of them didn't even make it a year on the job. Number 5. Keeping a stagecoach running in the Old West was a logistical nightmare. Each station needed rested horses, clean water, and enough hay to feed animals that were worked to the limit. The system required swapping horses every 10 or 15 miles, which meant a 100-mile route needed at least 40 animals ready and healthy at different points. A lot of horses simply couldn't handle the pace and died from exhaustion or dehydration, especially crossing desert territory where there was no grass and no water sources. Stagecoach companies spent fortunes keeping these stations stocked, sending supply wagons to places where nothing grew. It was a military-style operation right in the middle of the desert, and any failure meant passengers stranded in the middle of nowhere. Number 6. Think of the stagecoach like a syringe on wheels. Every stop in an isolated town was like injecting viruses the community had never seen. Cholera, smallpox, flu. They all rode for free right next to the passengers. The problem was simple. A sick person in St. Louis got on the stagecoach in the morning. 2 weeks later, an entire town in New Mexico was burying its dead. There was no quarantine. There were no tests. If you could pay the fare, you got on. And in that cramped space, with the windows shut against the dust, a few hours was enough to infect everyone on board. Historians estimate that stagecoach routes lined up almost perfectly with epidemic outbreaks in the West. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the price of progress. Number 7. Have you ever hit that jolt on a bad road and thought, that hurt? Now imagine that for 12 hours straight, every single day, Old West stagecoaches didn't have real suspension, just leather straps that barely absorbed the impact. Every rock in the road sent a hit straight into your spine. Doctors back then documented something disturbing. Frequent passengers developed what they called stagecoach spine. It was basically spinal discs getting compressed way too early. People in their 30s with the back of a 60-year-old. But the worst part, nobody could see. The constant micro-impacts shook the brain inside the skull. Same mechanics we know today in American football players. Except back then, nobody understood why regular passengers ended up confused and forgetful. Internal organs took a beating too. Kidneys and liver shifted millimeters with every pothole. It wasn't a trip. It was a non-stop beating disguised as transportation. Number 8. What was on that plate could kill you. At stagecoach stations, you ate whatever there was. Pork kept for weeks with no ice, darkened and smelling strong, bread with green mold spots, coffee made with contaminated well water. The rancid meat still gave you calories, about 250 per serving. But along with it came bacteria like salmonella and clostridium. With no antibiotics, your body had to fight on its own. Some people built up a tolerance. Others spent days with fever and violent diarrhea. Travelers reported losing weight during the journey, not because there wasn't food, but because their gut rejected almost everything. Dysentery killed more people in the West than shootouts. The funny thing is, a lot of people survived. The digestive system of those who grew up back then was different, used from childhood to food we'd throw away today. Number 9. Imagine going 25 days without really sleeping. That's what passengers faced on the route from Missouri to California. It was 2,000 miles of dirt road, dust, and potholes. The only rest came in seated naps, crammed onto wooden benches that felt more like church pews. The stagecoach didn't stop at night. It kept going, shaking non-stop. The human brain wasn't built for that. After a few days, your mind starts messing with you. Shadows turn into figures. Unexplained sounds pop up out of nowhere. It's what scientists today call extreme sleep deprivation. Your body holds up, but your mind starts short-circuiting. A lot of passengers reported strange visions by the end of the trip. It wasn't madness. It was pure biology. Number 10. The stagecoach worked like a mirror of America back then. Inside the cabin, you had businessmen, well-off farmers, and their families. Up on the roof, along with the luggage, rode the passengers who paid reduced fares, poor workers, immigrants, and anyone considered less respectable. But there were people who couldn't even ride on the roof. Chinese workers who built the railroads and Native Americans were often turned away or forced to wait for the next stagecoach, even with money in hand. Some companies had clear rules banning certain groups. Others left the call up to the driver. The result was the same. The open road of the West wasn't open to everyone. Segregation was already happening on four wheels decades before the Jim Crow laws. Number 11. Traveling by stagecoach was a nightmare for any woman. Picture a cramped space with no ventilation, getting bounced around for hours right next to strangers. And here's the detail history books don't talk about. There was a silent code for female survival. Women traveled with 8-inch hatpins, discreet weapons that could blind a man. Some carried small Derringer revolvers hidden in their petticoats. But the most common strategy was psychological. They'd pretend they were married to other passengers, make up husbands waiting at the destination, or just act crazy to scare off opportunists. Stagecoach drivers had an unofficial rule: seat unaccompanied women near the door, making a quick escape easier if anything went wrong. Number 12. Picture a stagecoach crossing the plains in the 1860s. Open land for miles, no trees, no rocks, nothing. Now imagine Comanche warriors appearing on horseback, firing arrows while riding. The math was brutal. The driver had to keep the horses on the trail while passengers tried to aim through tiny windows. The archers rode circles at speed, attacking from every angle at once. A rifle took 30 seconds to reload. A Comanche could fire 12 arrows in the same time. The stagecoach was a predictable wooden box on a giant pool table. The attackers chose the distance, the direction, and the moment. Entire routes were abandoned after documented massacres. Geography turned defense into impossible math. Number 13. Stagecoaches in the Old West. The cold that killed. You think your car takes a while to warm up in winter? Now imagine crossing the Rocky Mountains at 40 below zero in a wooden box with cracks everywhere. Stagecoaches had no heat at all. None. The cutting wind came in through the thin leather windows and kept circulating inside the cabin nonstop. Blankets? They barely helped. The human body loses heat 25 times faster when exposed to wind than in still air. Passengers sat for hours, barely able to move enough to generate heat. Many reached their destination with frozen fingers and ears. Others simply didn't make it. Hypothermia took the elderly and children first. Freezing to death in a stagecoach was so common that companies didn't even reimburse families. Number 14. Imagine being stuck in a wooden and leather box right in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Outside, the temperature was over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside the stagecoach, it was worse. The wood soaked up heat all day, and the leather on the curtains and seats worked like insulation. Zero ventilation. The air didn't move. Your body tried to sweat to cool down, but the moisture wouldn't evaporate. Result, your internal body temperature just kept rising. Passengers passed out within 2 hours. Some died of hyperthermia before reaching the next stop. The more experienced travelers only traveled at night. During the day, that box turned into a literal oven that cooked people from the inside out. Number 15. When your bag disappeared on a stagecoach, forget it. There was no tracking, no standardized receipt. The driver carried a handwritten manifest, sometimes just 3 trunks, 2 sacks, with no owner's name. If the stagecoach tipped over or got robbed, Wells Fargo used a curious system. Agents along the route reported what they found on the trail. Mule drivers and farmers became unofficial informants. The compensation? It was basically based on trust, your word against theirs. A lot of people never saw a cent back. The most intriguing part is that internal documents from the time show certain losses kept happening on the same routes, with the same drivers. Number 16. Driving a stagecoach in the Old West wasn't a job. It was survival. These guys faced roads that were basically traps, outlaws waiting around every bend, and temperatures that swung from hellish to freezing. Whiskey became the only thing that kept these men going. It wasn't partying, It was improvised medicine to get through the daily terror. The problem is, alcohol and reins don't mix. Spooked horses, passengers screaming, stagecoaches flipping over cliffs. The companies knew it, but looked the other way because nobody could handle that work sober. It was a cruel cycle where the cure turned into poison, but without it, nobody would even climb up onto that driver's seat. Number 17. In 1850, a stagecoach ticket from Missouri to California cost about $200. Sounds like not much? It was a whole year's salary for most workers. The financial market back then was dominated by a few companies that controlled the routes and set prices with no competition. Inflation during the gold rush blew everything up. Even so, thousands of families went deep into debt, sold farms, cattle, everything they had. Why? Because newspapers promised easy gold out west. The hype was brutal. A lot of people never managed to pay those debts. Some died on the way owing money that their kids inherited. It was an all-or-nothing bet, and the house always won. Number 18. Wolves and bears in the Old West developed a fascinating behavior. These predators learned to recognize the sound of wooden wheels on the trails and the smell of exhausted horses after long journeys. These animals' brains work by association. After a few successful ambushes at nighttime camps, they connected those signals with an easy, plentiful meal. Stagecoaches carried supplies, and worn-out horses couldn't get away. Armed guards rarely numbered more than 2 men, not enough against a coordinated pack or a 900-pound grizzly. Wolves especially developed tactics. Some would distract the guards while others went after the cargo. The wild turned commercial routes into hunting grounds. Number 19. Do you trust what companies say? In 1870, Wells Fargo dominated transportation in the West and played a dirty game few people knew about. The posters promised fast, safe travel, but the reality was very different. The company controlled the routes and, when it suited them, deliberately stretched the trips to charge passengers higher fares. There was no real competition, so you either paid what they asked or got left behind. Those same ads that pulled in families and investors from the East hid practices we'd call a cartel today. It's an old lesson about how corporations shape the public story while profit comes first, ahead of any customer. Number 20. Forget Hollywood's heroic cowboys. Survivors' diaries from these trips tell a different story. Doctors at the time described passengers who arrived with an empty stare, unable to sleep, jumping at every sound. Decades before psychiatrists studied soldiers from World War I, this trauma already had a popular name: prairie madness. Men who saw companions scalped or families massacred carried nightmares for the rest of their lives. The 1,000-yard stare wasn't born in the trenches of France. It was born here, in the American West, inside those stagecoaches. Most people never talked about it. They died in silence, with memories Hollywood preferred to ignore because they don't sell popcorn.